Welcome back to the Gilded Age Historians for a deeper look at the workers' ordeal. Today, imagine you're a worker on a ship during a raging storm. The ship represents the American economy, and the storm symbolizes the turbulent conditions faced by workers like you during the Gilded Age. As the waves crash around you, you realize that to survive and reach calmer waters, you'll need to come together with your fellow sailors and work as a team. This is precisely what American workers did during the Gilded Age. They worked together to demand change. In today's lesson, we'll explore their struggle. Today, we'll learn about the challenges faced by workers during the Gilded Age and their efforts to collectively fight for better working conditions and pay. Your learning objectives are to describe typical working conditions of the Gilded Age, explain the role of labor unions, and describe the impact of the Pullman Strike on labor movements. The Gilded Age was a time of explosive industrial growth and change in America. Steam power and the light bulb were among the many new technologies that fueled this growth, enabling businesses to expand to a massive scale. In factories, workers produced huge quantities of goods all in one place. This increased efficiency and reduced costs, leading to enormous profits in many industries. Available work and available goods led to urbanization, with workers flocking to cities to take advantage of the many opportunities. But this growth came at a cost, as many workers endured dangerous and grueling conditions in factories and mines. Imagine walking into a factory with the sound of machines hammering, grinding, the air thick with the smell of smoke and chemicals, and the heat intense enough to make you sweat profusely. You would work for 12 to 16 hours a day with little rest in conditions that would make your lungs burn and your eyes sting. It's hard to imagine the physical and emotional toll that these conditions would have taken on workers. The exhaustion, the aches and pains, the injuries, and the constant fear of something going wrong, all while being paid very little. These conditions led to health risks, including high rates of tuberculosis, cholera, and other diseases. And mines had their own dangers, like cave-ins, gas leaks, and explosions. Perhaps worst of all, children were also part of the workforce, exposed to the same dangers as adults. Despite these challenges, workers fought for reform and improvements. Can you imagine being in their shoes? How would you feel if you were a child working in a factory or a mine in this era? Some labor unions had formed in the early 19th century, but they gained momentum in the Gilded Age in response to the abysmal working conditions and low wages that left workers struggling to make ends meet. Labor unions are organizations that represent the collective interests of workers. They provide workers with a powerful voice to negotiate with their bosses for better pay, shorter work hours, and safer worker conditions. While a working class person may not be able to afford high dollar lawyers by themselves, many people could pool their resources together. Unionizing and acting collectively would allow them to be on a more equal footing with their company's owners. The Knights of Labor were among the earliest unions, and they sought to unite all workers, regardless of skill, gender, or race. However, the American Federation of Labor, or AFL, founded in 1886, became the most influential union of the Gilded Age. Led by Samuel Gompers, the AFL promoted collective bargaining and peaceful negotiations with employers to improve workers' lives and achieve a fairer distribution of wealth and power. What obstacles do you think labor unions faced when advocating for better working conditions and wages? Labor unions faced many obstacles. Business owners saw unions as a threat to their profits because higher wages and better working conditions would increase the cost of making products. They resorted to many tactics to undermine union organizing efforts. One tactic was called blacklisting, which involved putting someone on a list of workers who were considered troublemakers or union sympathizers. The list was then shared with other employers and industry leaders who wouldn't hire them, making it very difficult to find work. They would also fire union organizers to discourage others from joining the movement. To make matters worse, the government often sided with business owners, using the National Guard to break up strikes and passing laws that limited the power of unions. The Pullman Strike of 1894 serves as a poignant reminder of worker struggles. Let's take a closer look. In the late 19th century, the Pullman Palace Car Company, one of the largest employers in the United States, manufactured luxurious sleeper rail cars that traveled the country in style. In 1893, during an economic panic, the company made the controversial decision to lower wages for its workers without reducing the rent it charged them for company housing or prices for goods sold at company stores. This sparked a strike in 1894 in which workers collectively refused to work and halted production for the company. As the strike went on, they even blockaded the tracks to prevent trains from running. The American Railway Union, led by the charismatic and passionate Eugene Debs, supported the strike. The Pullman Strike spread quickly to other companies, causing railroad traffic across the country to grind to a halt. Under pressure from robber barons, President Grover Cleveland ordered federal troops to break the strike, leading to a violent confrontation between the workers and the military. Debs was arrested for defying a court order to end the strike as the leader of the railway union, but he remained steadfast, famously saying,
"I would rather 1,000 times be a free soul in jail than to be a sycophant and coward."
In other words, he believed that a free man should fight for his rights. Allowing workers to be exploited was just a new version of slavery. Despite the workers' courageous efforts, the strike ultimately failed to achieve better working conditions and higher wages for the Pullman workers. However, it did bring national attention to the issues faced by workers and the labor movement. The government's use of force against the workers sparked public outrage, helping to increase support for the labor movement. The Pullman Strike was a pivotal moment in American labor history, leading to the growth of the labor movement, the formation of new unions, and the push for better working conditions and wages. It even led to Labor Day becoming a national holiday in which many people get the day off in honor of the contributions of workers and their struggle for fair treatment. Let's take a moment to capture what you've learned. How did the Pullman Strike impact the labor movement in the United States? The Pullman Strike brought attention to the struggles faced by workers and paved the way for better conditions and fairer treatment in the workplace that we still enjoy today. Just like the sailors in the midst of that storm, workers of the Gilded Age faced difficult situations. They were able to find their strength in each other to weather the storm. And by standing united, they pressured their owners to make changes using a variety of tactics, like strikes. While reforms did not happen immediately, they would come in time. And as we reflect on the workers' ordeal, ask yourself this. After understanding the workers' struggle, how has your assessment of Gilded Age business leaders changed? And what are some ways we can learn from Gilded Age workers to act together to bring positive change to our community and beyond? In our next lesson, we'll be taking a look at the cities in which many of these workers lived. Let's just say that cities didn't explode in size without any struggle. Until then, historians, always remember, shaping the future begins with understanding the past.
Hey!